What is going on, guys? It's Yoji. In this video I want to give you my first impressions on the current patch 3.9, Conquerors of the Atlas, Metamorph League, and how my EQ jugging is going currently in maps. Just walking over content, as you can see here in the background, and crushing and jugging through maps right now, and how I got there, because in this current patch I actually decided to level as melee. I want to tell you a little bit about how this Thunder Boy that you can see here actually became an EQ jug, because it wasn't as straightforward as you might think, and melee leveling currently I cannot really recommend. Thunder doesn't feel as good as it used to, and it's not really all that great for leveling. It clears packs fairly well, but in single target it's pretty lacking, which is why fairly quickly I decided to actually switch over to Tectonic Slam, because originally I planned to play a very meme heavy Tectonic Slam Chieftain build. Fully converting to fire, maybe using a Pillar of the Caged God or a rare staff, but that changed somewhat quickly, because as I leveled through the game with Tectonic Slam, it didn't really feel all that great to begin with, but I for a while still had faith in the build. But as I said, melee leveling doesn't really feel all that great, even with some of the additions that they made to melee leveling recently, and especially once I got into early maps and the early Metamorphs. As you can see in the background footage, my character kind of started to struggle quite a bit. It wasn't quite as tanky. A bit has to do with me being in Takikat's League in the beginning, which is 20% hasted mobs, which makes Metamorphs even more rippy and hard to tell what's going on. But also just trade and items not being as available as a normal trade league. But once I got to my first set of Conquerors, which I all defeated, still doing the Tectonic Slam memes. As you can see in this Drox fight here, it was a bit of a struggle, this being a white, like lowest tier possible Conqueror. So that was the point where I decided to respec into Earthquake, Impale, Juggernaut, which made the character not only more tanky, but also do more damage on less, or like lower gear levels. And as you can see here in the Baron fight, it's doing quite alright. This is already like one tier higher. I was still figuring out the fight a little bit, but in my opinion, melee in these fights does actually feel quite decent, and especially Baron actually I think is easier to dodge his attacks when you're in melee range. So with all the Conqueror fights, even the Cold Lady and Drox over here, I don't really have that many complaints for melee. Drox is like the clusterfuckiest one, the one where I have the most trouble like realizing what's going on, where his attacks are actually targeted at and hitting, with like the fists raining down, all the mobs spawning and the banners. But as you can see here, even like a second, like a yellow tier, a Drox basically, still going down fairly quickly, about as quickly as the white tier 1 did on the Tectonic Slammer, and this is still with pretty low gear. That's what my first Awakener attempt looked like. Not very successful, and then yeah, I upgraded my gear, transferred out of Takikat's League, which bricked my Atlas and is currently bugged, but I can still progress a little bit more, and as you can see here, 7k life, just EQing, walking over huge packs of Legion monsters right here with Val Earthquake. Very fun button indeed. And actually dishing out quite some damage. So this is actually now on the 6 link as well. All the content before was always on the 5 link, because my Hegemony's Era, which I'm using, did not wanna link. And this is the fight I wanted to show you completely. It's the Poison Boy, the highest tier Poison Boy that you can get, like I think Awakening level 6. And a lot of people said, who play like either like close range casters or melee characters, said they have quite a bit of trouble with this character. So what you want to have for this character is a bit of chaos rares, like around 0% for me is fine. And you want to have poison immunity, really helps from the Pantheon, or at least the poison removal flask. And then during the phase that you see right now, he kites you. You just accept as a melee character that you don't really deal damage to him as much, because you have to dodge the snakes while hitting him. And then now he will make the mistake of going in melee range. And I'm making the mistake here of not instantly going into the middle now that the dot pool is drained, and now you can actually like melee him down pretty quickly once he goes into melee, into the triangle with you, because at some point he will stop the kiting phase and just like allow you to DPS him down. So he's actually pretty easy, but you have to be a bit more patient. However, I think there is an argument to be made that build diversity did take a hit, as is to be expected when the game gets more difficult. So overall, I think melee in this patch is still in a decent state, and yes, as you can see, once my gear level increased a bit more, tier 16 bosses just get like destroyed still, even though they have had a pretty decent health buff. Here you can see a Minotaur that I was granted by Azanas. I think it's also with like extra monster life, so it is a bit more tanky, but still not a problem at all. Yeah, second Awakener attempt didn't go as well either, but I actually got to the last phase on that one. While not all bosses are as face roll as on a meta build, as you can see here, we are still a jug, right? We can still like trivialize and face tank quite a bit of content, as for example this Lich fight over here. So overall, I think melee is still pretty much alive in 3.9. The Conquerors are actually pretty melee friendly. The Awakener I've still yet to kill, but I think the fight is very doable with this build. Maybe I will have to remove the Abysses for the Awakener fight. So overall, as I said, I think the character is doing quite well, and I'll give you like a full build guide update and a full-fledged guide video once this character is completed. Have nice Christmas holidays and a smooth end to 2019. As always, thank you to all my patrons for the support. Subscribe if you are new to this channel for more Path of Exile content. I'm Yoji, and I will see you soon.